In the heart of London, under the soft glow of chandeliers shaped like frozen stars, the starlit crown hummed with wealth. It was the fanciest restaurant in the city, where every table was a kingdom of power, lit by candles and decorated with crystal glasses. The air was calm, filled only with the gentle sound of a piano. In a quiet corner, hidden behind orchids and shadows, sat Oliver Hartley. He was 48, a tech billionaire and widower. His tailored suit fitted perfectly, and his shiny watch caught flickers of light, but nothing could hide the emptiness in his heart. Oliver stared at his untouched plate of roast beef, its rich smell inviting but meaningless to him. The empty chair across from him felt louder than any noise in the room. He held his wine glass, the red liquid swirling like a ghost. 10 years ago, a terrible car accident took his wife, Eleanor, and their 3-year-old son, Teddy. Since then, Oliver filled his life with silence, work, and distractions. He lifted the glass slowly, but a soft, shaky voice interrupted him. "May I have your leftovers, sir?" Oliver froze. He turned and saw a young woman beside his table. She looked about 19, with blonde hair and a messy bun, strands falling loosely. Her coat was worn thin, barely keeping out the chilly London autumn. In her arms was a baby, about 7 months old, wrapped in a faded blanket. The baby's big bright eyes stared at the steaming mashed potatoes and beef on Oliver's plate. Her voice was quiet, but cut through the restaurant's hush like a snapping string. Oliver blinked, as if waking from a deep sleep. Around him, the room went still. Forks paused, conversations faded. A waiter stepped forward, looking worried, but Oliver raised a hand to stop him. He studied the girl's face. There was no shame or trickery in her eyes, only tiredness and a fierce need, not for herself, but for her baby. She held the child with such love that it made everything else disappear. Oliver's throat tightened. The candle between them flickered. Something stirred inside him, not a big revelation, but a tiny spark. He didn't know it yet, but that one question would change everything, breaking down walls he'd built for a decade and leading him to a love he never expected. He stared at her, the world fading into the background. Her hair caught the candlelight like broken gold. Her coat was too small, the sleeves frayed, and her trainers were tattered, soaked with city grime. But it was her eyes that stopped him. They didn't beg or waver. They were strong, filled with dignity and a deep sadness. She wasn't asking for herself. She was asking for her child. Oliver hesitated for a moment, then gently pushed the plate forward. "Take it," he said softly. She didn't grab the food like someone starving. Instead, she pulled a clean but worn cloth from her bag, carefully wrapped the potatoes and beef like they were treasure, and knelt to feed her baby. Oliver hesitated for a moment, then gently pushed the plate forward. "Take it," he said softly. She didn't grab the food like someone starving. Instead, she pulled a clean but worn cloth from her bag, carefully wrapped the potatoes and beef like they were treasure, and knelt to feed her baby. She took a small plastic spoon, scooped some food, blew on it gently, and fed it to the child. The baby cooed, his tiny face lighting up with joy, his chubby hands patting her chest. His smile was like a sunrise after a cold night. Oliver's heart squeezed. He looked away for a second, blinking away tears, but his eyes snapped back when the baby giggled again. The girl fed him slowly, patiently, ignoring the silent stares of the wealthy diners around her. She was there for one reason, to feed her son. Oliver felt something wake inside him, not pity, but awe at her love. When the baby was full, she tucked the cloth bundle into her bag, adjusted his blanket, and stood. She glanced at Oliver, nodding slightly, not to thank him but to share something unspoken. Then she walked out through the restaurant's glass doors into the London night. Oliver sat still, staring at where she'd stood, the candle's light dancing on his wine glass. Without thinking, he stood, placed his napkin on the table, nodded to the stunned waiter, and followed her. He trailed her at a distance, his footsteps quiet on the London pavement. The city's noise faded as she slipped into a narrow alley, clutching her baby like a shield. The alley led to a crumbling car park, surrounded by old brick buildings and abandoned cars. One car, a dented old saloon, stood out. Its windows were foggy, its paint peeling, but it was home. She opened the back door and settled inside with the baby, using a thin blanket as a mattress. She whispered to the child, then sang softly, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine." Oliver watched from the shadows, unable to move. The baby gripped her collar, eyes closing as her lullaby wrapped around him. The scene was grim, but her love was undeniable. He stepped forward, and she turned, startled. Their eyes met. "I'm sorry," he said, hands raised. "I just wanted to check if you're okay." "You followed me?" she asked, cautious. "Yes," he admitted. "I saw how you fed your son. I've never seen anything like that. I needed to understand." She paused, then said quietly, "His name's Alfie. I'm Sophie. He's 8 months old. He loves mashed potatoes." Oliver's voice softened. "So did my son." Sophie blinked, sensing his pain. She didn't pry, just listened. "I was training to be a nurse," she said. "Then I got pregnant. The father left. My parents cut me off. We've lived in this car for 2 months. I clean houses or wait tables when I can." Oliver looked at the car, the worn blanket, the tiny clothes stacked neatly. "I can help," he offered. "A hotel, food, anything." She looked at Alfie. "Just one day where he's warm, full, and safe. That's all." Her words hit him hard. In the streetlight's glow, he saw something familiar in her eyes. Eleanor's eyes. Not the same, but close enough to stir memories. He stepped back, unsteady. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" she asked, confused. "For reminding me I still have a heart." She didn't reply, just held Alfie closer and resumed her lullaby. Oliver stood there, the song weaving through the night. She didn't smile, but she didn't close the car door either. And that meant everything. From that night, Oliver couldn't forget Sophie and Alfie. Their faces stayed with him, a quiet reminder that in a city of luxury, a mother and child survived on courage alone. He didn't approach her again right away. Instead, he acted quietly, like he'd built his fortune. He found her car parked behind an old church. Without disturbing her, he left packages in the early mornings, baby formula, nappies, warm soup. He arranged for a doctor to visit, pretending it was a church program. Sophie didn't know who sent him, but she held Alfie tighter and whispered, "Thank you," to the air. At first, Sophie was wary, used to disappointment. But the gifts came without demands or expectations. Slowly, her suspicion turned to hope. Then one cold October night, disaster struck. Alfie was fussy all day, his forehead warm. By evening, he was burning with fever. Sophie tried everything, cool cloths, lullabies, rocking him in the car. But his cries grew weaker, his breathing fast. She rushed to a London hospital. At the desk, the receptionist barely looked up. When Sophie admitted she had no insurance, the woman's face hardened. "We're full," she said. "You'll have to wait or try somewhere else." "He's just a baby," Sophie pleaded. "His fever's 40 degrees. He's not responding." "I'm sorry," the woman said coldly. "We can't help without proper intake." Outside, Sophie's breath clouded in the freezing air. Alfie went quiet, a terrifying stillness. She held him tight, shaking with panic. With trembling hands, she typed 2 words on her old phone. "Help us." She didn't know if Oliver would come, but 6 minutes later, his black SUV screeched up. He leapt out, coat flapping, eyes wild. Without a word, he held out his arms. Sophie placed Alfie in them. The baby's tiny hand gripped Oliver's finger, weak but trusting. Oliver strode into the hospital, bypassing the queue. "I want a doctor now," he told the receptionist, his voice firm. "This child has a critical fever. I'll pay everything, but if you waste 1 more minute, I'll buy this hospital and sack you all." They took Alfie immediately. Sophie sat in the hallway, exhausted. Oliver stayed beside her, silent. When the nurse said Alfie was stable and resting, Sophie exhaled. It was the first time Sophie had let herself break since becoming a mother, and for Oliver, the first time in 10 years that holding someone didn't feel like betraying Eleanor. A blurry photo of Oliver leaving the hospital with Alfie in his arms and Sophie behind him spread online. Headlines screamed, "Tech billionaire's late-night rescue." Sophie's name leaked from a hospital form, and cruel comments followed. Some called her a gold digger, others praised Oliver's kindness. In the flat he'd rented for her and Alfie, Sophie sat in the dark, her phone's light showing hateful words. She turned it off, afraid the poison might reach her son. When Oliver visited, he saw her closed-off posture. "I can't do this," she said. "I don't want Alfie growing up with lies and scandal." "You did nothing wrong," Oliver said. "Neither did Alfie." "People don't care," she replied. "They've decided who I am." "Then let me tell them who you really are," he said. That night, Oliver went on TV. No script, just a simple studio. He spoke of Eleanor and Teddy, the accident, and his grief. "I stopped living when they died," he said. Then he spoke of Sophie. "She didn't want charity. She just wanted to feed her son. She woke something in me I thought was gone." His voice broke. "She's not a headline. She's a mother. Alfie's not a prop. He's a beautiful child. I didn't save them. They saved me." The raw interview changed everything. Online, people began defending Sophie. Mothers shared their stories. Nurses spoke of girls like her falling through the cracks. Donations poured into shelters. Sophie stayed silent, but the next morning, she arrived at Oliver's door. Alfie bundled against the cold. "I'm not leaving," she said. "If you still want us, we're here." Oliver stepped aside, letting them in. For the first time in years, he felt peace. The flat he rented was simple but warm, with soft gray walls and morning light. Sophie moved in with just 2 bags and a baby carrier. Soon, it felt like home. Alfie's drawings on the fridge, tiny socks on the heater, the smell of baby lotion. Oliver visited daily, at first with groceries, then just to be there. He learned to hold a bottle, warm milk, change nappies. He knew Alfie's cries, hunger, tiredness, discomfort. One afternoon, rocking Alfie to sleep, Oliver realized he didn't want to leave. Sophie noticed too, how he lingered, listening to Alfie's babbles like music. He never tried to fix or control her. He just showed up. Their bond grew slowly, not fiery, but deep, born from persistence. One evening on the balcony, under London's twinkling lights, Oliver said, "When I lost Eleanor and Teddy, I thought I'd never care again." Sophie looked at him, eyes shining. "You didn't lose it. It just waited." They didn't kiss, but the moment was a promise. Emily smiled, a real smile, just for him. Oliver smiled back, healed by her light. Alfie, nearly 2, wobbled across the grass, holding a velvet box. Oliver knelt, taking it gently. Sophie stood barefoot, her white dress glowing in the sun. He opened the box, revealing a simple ring. "You didn't ask for anything," he said. "You just showed up and gave me a reason to live. You gave me family, love, a future. Will you marry me?" Sophie nodded, tears falling, and laughed. "Yes!" They embraced, Alfie wrapping his arms around Oliver's leg, chirping, "Daddy." Oliver lifted him, holding both mother and son. In that moment, under the sun, everything broken felt whole. From a quiet question in a London restaurant, a story of love and second chances grew. Oliver didn't just open his heart, he opened his life. Sophie didn't just survive, she found home. And Alfie, once cradled by a stranger, now had a father who chose him. Sometimes, the greatest stories start with the smallest moments, a plate of leftovers and a mother's love.